Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Lone Vic here again, and today I'm here and happy to present to you the game PanAm, the triumph in the golden age of air travel. This is one of my favorite games about air travel, to be honest. I'm so excited that I can finally show it to you and explain to you how to play. This is a game for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. It's manufactured for Funko Games, and it's a game by Prospero Hall, and oh boy, is this a cool one. So in this video, I will explain to you how to set this game up and how to play it for 2 to 4 players. If you like this video, if you want to support the channel, if you found the video helpful, click the like button, hit the subscribe and ring the notification bell, please, to help the channel grow and also to be informed about anything new that's happening on the channel. And now let's not wait anymore. Let's go into the setup of PanAm. Okay, so in PanAm, you will be the head of your own fledgling airline, and as PanAm as a company expands historically across the globe, you'll be spending your income from operating your own airline to buy PanAm stock that will be worth different prices throughout the game, and you will have two main goals. One is to claim your routes by sending your engineers to acquire airports, planes, and destinations. And the second goal is to use the income that you earn from operating your lines and also from selling your routes to PanAm in order to buy their stock. And at the end, the person with the most PanAm stock wins the game. So the game is played in 7 rounds, and this is spanning the era of PanAm's beginnings to the retirement of the founder Juan Trippe in 1968. So this is kind of a historical background for this game. So now let's take a look at how to set up a game of PanAm. So first we need the game board, and we place it here, right, in the center of the table, and we have those trays for hangers that we can place next to the board so that each player can have their planes segregated. I'm using this for one player right now just to show you. I won't be setting up all the players, I'll be setting up only one, but there are not too many differences for setups between players. And then the second step is to take the event deck that we have here, and these event cards, as you can see, are marked with different rounds. So you have to separate events for rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And after you do that, as you can see, like so, you take one card from each of these decks, obviously after shuffling them, and so you create a deck of 7 event cards with round 1 on top and round 7 on the bottom. And without looking, put the rest of the cards back into the box. So these events are placed here, and as the rounds progress, and there are 7 rounds to play in this game, we'll be going one by one through all of those cards. Then, as the next step, take the destination cards, shuffle them well, not like I'm doing it right now, place them in the marked spot on the board, and flip over the top 4, like so. Next, take the stack of directive cards, give them a good shuffle as well, and place them in the marked spot on the board as well. Place the PanAm route markers, the money, the stock 1 and 5 marked, and the PanAm die next to the board in easy reach for all the players. The stock marker for showing how much the PanAm stack are worth can be set somewhere near the board right now, but we'll be putting this on the board later on. And then we have these 2 tiles for jets and cruisers, as you can see, and we place them on the appropriate planes because they will be locked in the initial years or initial rounds of play. And this is the main setup complete. Now for the players. Each player should take a mat. As you can see, I've got Premier Interglobal, the green player. So this is my player mat, and also the pieces in the matching color. So we've got the planes, and the planes are in 4, as you can see, sizes. So those are the biggest ones, and then we've got this and this as well. And you differentiate the planes by the number of stripes on their wings. So there is, I don't know if you can completely see this on here on my hand right now, but this one has 3 stripes on the wing, this one has only 1, this one has 4 stripes over here. So those are the levels of the plane. So this is a first level plane, second level plane, third level plane, and fourth level plane, as also shown here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you put 2 one-level planes and 1 second-level plane in your hangar over here as your fleet, and you return the rest to the pool. You take the income tracker, which is this cube, and you place it on the 0 spot on your player board. You take your 5 airport tokens and you place them somewhere nearby in easy reach for each player individually. There are 5, they look like control towers. And you take engineers, which are those pawns, and you take a number of them depending on how many players are playing the game. In a 2-player game, you take 5 engineers. In a 3-player game, you take 4 engineers each. And in a 4-player game, each player gets only 3 engineers. And the unused engineers are returned to the box. So let's say I'm playing a 2-player game, I will take out all 5 engineers. There we go. Each player then draws 2 destination cards, which they will be starting the game with, 1 directive card, and takes 12 cash from the bank. There we go. The destination cards are common knowledge, so you can flip them over so that everyone can see what you have, but the directive cards should be kept hidden. And the first player is decided and receives the first player marker for the first round. Okay, so with the setup complete, guys, we can start learning how to play PanAm. Okay, so let's start with the important concepts in the game. Now, there are different types of destination cards in 5 colors. The yellow ones are for Asia, there are purple ones for Europe, and as you can see, they are identical to the colors of the connection lines between cities. The green ones are for the Pacific, blue ones for North America, and red ones for South America, right? I already told you about the planes and those 4 levels, and those levels define the range of the planes. So level 1 planes can only travel on routes which have a number 1 between the cities, like here or here. Level 4 planes can travel on maximum routes which have 4, but they can also go on shorter routes. So those ranges of planes determine which routes can a player cover. And the last concept that's the most important in the game is claiming a route. Now, to claim a route, you need the landing rights in the 2 cities that are being connected by the route, and you need a plane with a minimum appropriate range for the route. So let's say that I would like to cover the route between Gander and Reykjavik. I would need a minimum 2-level plane, and I would need landing rights both in Reykjavik and in Gander. And now, how can you acquire landing rights? There are 4 different methods for acquiring landing rights in this game. The first one is to have your control tower in the city that you need the landing rights for. So for example, right now I would have my landing rights in Reykjavik, and only 1 control tower can be present in each city. So if I have my control tower here. Nobody else can build a control tower in Reykjavik, but that doesn't mean that the players can't obtain their landing rights to Reykjavik in any other way. But this is only one of those 4 ways. So 1, have a control tower in the city. 2 is to have a destination card that matches the name of the city. So if I had a Reykjavik card in front of me, I would have landing rights to this city. And that's basically it. And if I want to use those landing rights and I have my Reykjavik card here, I don't need to discard it. It remains here if it's matching the city that I'm traveling to, that I'm connecting to. If, however, I don't have a Reykjavik card, there is a third option that I can discard a destination card from the same region, so from the same color as the city. So right now I have 2 destination cards in the beginning of the game, Tangier, which is purple, and Nome, which is green. So if I wanted my landing rights in Reykjavik, and I don't have a Reykjavik card in my possession, I would be able to discard Tangier in order to acquire landing rights to Reykjavik once. So for example, to connect, to claim this route or this route, but this is a one-time thing. And the last, 4th method of obtaining landing rights is to discard 2 cards of the same region that are different from the region I'm interested in. So for example, if I didn't have this Tangier card, but I had 2 green cards, I would be able to discard 2 random green cards from my possession in order to acquire the landing rights to Reykjavik. So those are those 4 methods. Either have a control tower or a matching card in a name and color that you don't have to discard, or you need to discard a card of the same color but different name, or discard 2 cards of the same color that are different than the one you're interested in. So in order to claim a route, you need to have landing rights in both of these places, and you need a plane. And this is the main concept of the game. The claiming of those routes is the main thing that the game revolves around. So now that you have this sorted, more or less, let's go through the stages of a round and see what's what. Alright, so playing the game revolves around 4 phases. The first one being the event phase, in which the players uncover the top card of the event deck and enact the effect that happens on the card. So in this case, at the start of the expansion phase, PanAm expands once along the South American path. So those are different events that will be happening. Sometimes there are passive permanent events for the round, sometimes there are one-time things, but you read those and you will adhere to those rules. And on the bottom here of this first round card, we've got the initial stock price for the PanAm stock, and now we can use the marker to mark it as 4. And you also have an information on how many times the die for PanAm will be rolled in the expansion phase, in this case only once. The subsequent cards in the rounds, in the event phase, will tell you to move the price up or down on the stock price, or set a new stock price. Sometimes it may happen so there will be either an arrow up or an arrow down, and the number of the dice that you will roll and also the effect might be different. So in the beginning of each round, you uncover the new card and enact everything that you need to. You resolve the whole card. After that, there's the engineering phase. So this is the second phase of a round, and this is where everything comes into place. So in a 2-player game, each player has 5 engineers. And now, starting from the first player, each player takes one of their engineers and places him or her, them, on any of these spaces that you can see here with this shape, in the shape of those engineer bases. And whenever you place your engineer, this is the action that you will be conducting in the next phase. But there are a few caveats. Some of those spaces are, as you can see, empty. And on those tracks, on D and E, you simply place your engineers from left to right. So for example, if I place one here and then the second player has a turn, they can place theirs here, and we do it one by one. And you can have more than one engineer on those tracks in your color. On these tracks with numbers, however, wherever you place an engineer, the number below your engineer or under your engineer is the amount that you will have to pay to fulfill this action once you get to it. So if you place your engineer here, that means that you will be able to buy a clipper plane for 4 cash, for $4. Or for example, if you place your engineer here, you'll be able to get this Tokyo destination card for 0. But if I place my engineer here on the track, the next player in the round will be able to, for example, say, I want to buy this card for $4, for example. And then your engineer comes back to you and you will be able to place him in the same round again because somebody overbid you on this card. And this overbidding happens on all those numbered tracks. So the only possibility not to get overbid is to put your engineer on the most expensive price for the element that you need, or at least on the price that your opponents can't exceed or can't match. This phase is played out until all players run out of engineers. So you can overbid each other, push each other out of different spaces, and finally, in a 2-player game, for example, there will be 5 engineers of each player, so 10 engineers in total on the map, and the phase ends. And after we place all the engineers, the third phase is called the resolution phase, and it starts right now. So in the resolution phase, you'll be resolving each of those tracks in alphabetical order, A, B, C, D, and E. And you will have to pay the price for each action that you are taking. And if you can't pay, then you won't be able to take the action. But remember that on each of those tracks, here on those numbered tracks, there will be only one engineer because you will be outbidding each other. So if you can't pay 9 to build an airport, then nobody will build an airport in this round, right? If you took this and can't pay. But here you can have as many engineers as you want. So those are those 2 tracks that will be left over with the most engineers, and one can be on each of those numbered ones. But if you don't have money to pay, you can still save yourself a bit, because if you don't have money, you can sell stock of PanAm that you own from previous rounds to pay for your actions, but this stock will be sold by $2 less than it's currently worth. So if it was worth 7, for example, in the current round, you would be able to sell each of your stock for 5 in order to pay for those actions. Okay, so what does each of those actions do? So if you manage to purchase yourself an airport, you simply take one of your control towers and you put it anywhere on the board where there isn't a control tower yet present, and you get landing rights in this city forever. You only have 5 control towers, so you can put only 5 airports on the map. B is about destinations. So after somebody places an airport, if anybody did that, we go to B, and then everybody pays or takes for 0 and collects the cards that they bought and displays them in front of them so that everybody can see who's got what. And in this way you can collect sets which you will be able to trade for landing rights in respective cities. Then we go to C, and people purchase planes in C. So if you manage to pay for your space, you just take a clipper or a tri-motor from the pool and you add it to your fleet. In round 3, you will take down this panel and cruisers will become available from round 3. And since round 6, also jets will become available for purchase, but not earlier. Then in D, after everybody's purchased planes, in D, in player order from left to right, as engineers go here, each player with an engineer in a space can claim one route. So remember, to claim a route, you need landing rights in both cities that are connected with your route, and you need a plane with a minimum range that you will place here. So if you have the landing rights and if you can place a plane, your income will increase by the length of the route. So just to give you an example, hypothetically, let's say that I've purchased this San Francisco card, I've got the Tangier card as well, right, from phase B, and now in routes, my engineer is first here, so I can claim one route before everybody else, and I'm dead set on taking this route from Reykjavik to Gander. I don't have either of those here, I don't have control towers here, but I can discard San Francisco, blue, instead of Gander, and I can discard Tangier, purple, instead of Reykjavik. I discard both of those, I take my plane with a range of 2, I place it here, and I increase my income by 2. And this is how you claim routes in this game. So after I claim a route, I take my engineer back, then another player can claim a route, and then another one, and then another one, etc., until the end. And remember that there can be more than one piece, more than one engineer of your color on this track, so you can claim a few routes in one round of the game, no problem. And after this is resolved, we go to the directives space, which is E, and here you have only 3 spaces, and the pieces that are here provide players with directive cards. So if I had my engineer here, I would get a new directive card. And one more thing, when you resolve each of those tracks, you take your engineers back from those tracks, from A, B, C, and D, after resolving the step. But with E, you leave your engineers where they were for the next round. Why? Because this will be priority action space. So in the next round, before the first player will be able to place their engineer in the engineer phase, you will go in this order. So for example, if this was the second round of play and we had those 2 pieces left over here and the red player was the first player, first, we would do the event phase, we would go to the engineering phase, and first I would put this engineer as the green player in priority order somewhere, and then the red player would put his somewhere, and then since the red player is the first player in the second round, he would put another engineer, and then the order would go clockwise again. So not only does E give you directive cards, but also gives you guaranteed priority in the engineer phase for the next round. And what are the directive cards? Let's take a look. Sometimes the directive cards are like these, and they tell you that at the end of game something will happen. Sometimes they will tell you that you will be able to do something in phase D, for example, so when you are resolving your routes, or maybe in B during resolving the destinations area. So those are cards which you can play at different moments of the game, and they are described very clearly, usually with the letters of the subsequent steps. Okay, and finally, after you resolve E and you leave all the engineers on the E spaces and clear out all the rest of the engineers, the end of the resolution phase comes and PanAm phase starts, which is phase 4. This is the last phase of the game. And in phase 4, PanAm will first do an expansion step or steps. And this means that you will roll the PanAm die the amount of times shown on the current event card, in this case 1. And what that means is that I will roll and PanAm will buy out the routes along these two shapes or these two markings on the routes, starting from Miami, because PanAm originated in Miami. After you play a few games, the rulebook suggests that PanAm can start in Rome for a more difficult game, or like a change up a bit, but initially PanAm starts in Miami. So after this roll, PanAm would buy out one closest route along this zigzag line, which is this here, and you place a PanAm marker here so nobody can claim this route anymore, and also this striped line here. And this die can show different directions where PanAm goes. So if in the next round PanAm would expand again along the striped one, it would take another one and then another one, and it goes step by step consecutively. Now, if there are no planes, so if this route is not claimed by any player, nothing happens. But what happens if my plane was on this route between Miami and New York when PanAm wants to claim it? This means that my plane gets back to my hangar. I can use it again later on. I lose the income that I got from this line. So I would lose one income that I got from claiming the route, but I would get 5 cash automatically according to this route bonus table. So if PanAm purchases my 1 length route, I get 5 cash. Number 2 route gives me 9, number 3 gives me 12, and number 4 gives me 14 cash instantly. And you can't say no to PanAm. They're just buying you out. So if the die rolls and you're on PanAm's way, they will buy you out no matter what, right? So notice that there are some routes which have no zigzags and no dashes and no dots. So those are routes that PanAm won't buy using this die, ever. So if you want a steady income, then those are the routes that you should go for probably. If the die falls on the PanAm symbol, then each player, starting from the first player, can sell any one of the routes to PanAm based on the same rules. So you remove your plane, you put the PanAm marker, you deduce your income, and you get the cash. So any route can be sold with this symbol on. So after PanAm does the expansion with 1 or 2 rolls or something like that, then we have the income step of the PanAm phase, and each player gets the amount of money that's shown on the income track. It sometimes can be 0, it can be more. So you get some additional money, and after income, each player, starting from the first player, decides how much or how many stock of PanAm they want to buy for their money they currently have based on the current price. So the first player buys, let's say, 3, so he gets 1, 2, 3 stock for him. Then the second player, third and fourth player. And after this step is finished, we have the end of the round. At the end of the round, you pass the first player marker to the next player. You refresh the destination cards, adding any new ones to the spaces that were emptied and placing $1 on each destination card that wasn't taken in a round, so that it can be taken in the next round with an added bonus. And if this is the beginning of round 3 or 6, remove the cruiser or jet tiles. And that's it. You start round 2 by uncovering the next event card, then the engineering phase, then the resolution phase, and then the PanAm phase again, 7 times again and again and again. And at the end of the game, after round 7 is finished, the player with the most stock, no matter the price right now, just the number of stock cards, 1s and 5s counts, wins the game. And if there is a tie, the tied player with the most money left over wins. And if there is still a tie, the tied players just share the victory, and that's it. How simple is that? It's a great, simple to explain and simple to play game, but it has a lot of depth and a lot of strategy and a lot of planning and a lot of outbidding. It's great in my opinion. I hope that this video helped you learn the rules and maybe encourage you to try this out. If you liked the video, if it helped you to understand the rules, if you want to support my channel, click the like button, ring the notification bell, hit the subscribe, leave a comment below the video if you have any questions especially. And for now, this is it from me. My name was Lone Vic. This was PanAm, a game about the expansion of the Pan Am Airlines in the 1960s. See you soon in other of my videos on my channel. For now, have a great day and bye-bye.